Ladies, hello. I start every single interview I do the exact same way, the exact same question. It's very important. How are you today? Genuinely, how are you both doing today?
I'm good. I'm traveling and doing press, and I have my two young children with me, so that's an answer in itself. And they've been ill, but
Oh no.
considering I'm doing really, really well, I must say.
Good. I'm glad. Elizabeth, how are you doing?
I woke up and I thought I was coming down with something,
No.
but I think I'm good. I think I'm fine. I think I slept it out.
Good. Okay. After this, please go back to bed for another like 10 more hours. Just really get it
Yeah.
out because it's going
I
around
love
right
it. This
now,
is so
man.
European. It's like the first time I came to America, and people asked me like, "How are you?" And I did tell people how I was, and I
Yes.
realized it's not what I was supposed to say.
I wanted the honest answer though. That's what I like. So I appreciate that you actually say how you were.
Nice.
Well, guys, I'm so excited to talk about this film with you. It is such a ride, I think is the best way to kind of sum it up. And Alicia, I want to start with you because your character is just kind of pure chaos to me. Like I didn't really know what she was going to be from scene to scene. And I mean this in such a complimentary way. And we do find out that there is a reason for that chaos, obviously. So I'm curious for you, when you're approaching the character, what do you latch on to you? Do you latch on to the fact that like there's a reason for this, or do you just kind of embrace the play?
No, I mean, I think deep down, I think, behavior needs to, I need to understand where it comes from. And then I think, part of the mystery is like, I guess it's the same thing when I read the script or with a person that I would be confronted by, if there's a behavior that I question or something that I don't understand, I think there's also a big part of me who really wants to get underneath it all and get my head around it. So I think that was something that I enjoyed. I mean, I immediately whilst reading it was, you know, interested who this woman was and her attention and where she comes from. And then I feel like there was, a way of like there's an opening in the end, and you get to see kind of behind the curtain. And I think it was a proof that there was a lot of things for me to play around with.
On that note, Alicia, when you talk about how much there is to play with, is there room for improv in a character like this on a set like this? Or because it seems very well executed. So did you get to kind of just go with your instincts at any point, or was it all like written out?
No, no. I mean, there's certain, stage directions and ideas, but I think I knew, it's almost like the kind of chaos that I know involves, child play, is something that, is larger than anything that fits on a page. So there was definitely room for me to try things out, and that was so yes, there was some, improv within the scenes that I got to do.
Well, now I got to rewatch it and see if I can pick out those moments because there are I have my suspicions on a few, but I will go back and look for it. Elizabeth, I want to ask you because Alicia's whole job in this movie is to make your character uncomfortable, is to throw you off your game, and is to just be this disruptive presence. In acting, though, you have to have this comfort with the person that you're acting with. So you, as Elizabeth, have to be comfortable with Alicia, but as characters, her job is to make you uncomfortable. How do you reconcile that? That's a convoluted question, I know, but I hope that I'm being clear.
You are. I mean, I think we established a comfort with one another quite quickly, and had to because of the circumstances that we were being put in. I think the thing that's almost easier is to be thrown off and uncomfortable. And then the thing that I think Alicia and I together tried to layer in is when these women do come together and there's a bit of a transference and a connection between the two of them and what that means to both of them without revealing too much about their backstories and their own experiences. And I think those moments of how the alliances were shifting was really a nice dance that we got to play within the game, the game of it all. And then, it's when the human part creeps up on you. Fleur, we just had an interview with Fleur, and she had said, it's all fun to a point, and then it becomes very human. And so I think being able to layer those in throughout was a nice challenge, and in detail. and
And
specificity.
I also think, you know, the scenes where you have when you have to make much more kind of intense and difficult and hard scenes, then you actually need to be even closer to
Mhm.
your, you know, colleagues in that sense, because you know that you need to get to a place that might be uncomfortable. And, you know, I really like truly enjoy working with Elizabeth, and I kind of felt like we both, you know, Elizabeth is extremely like committed, and I immediately felt like we were, you know, daring to explore things quite like um yeah, bravely when we were on set together.
It was very fun to watch. If I may put my fan hat on for a second, I just loved watching you guys go head to head. It was such a collision of talent, and I just please work together again in the future, just for my own enjoyment, I guess.
I mean, I would
Well,
love to do that.
Elizabeth, one thing I also want to ask you is like you said, this is all fun to a point, and then it gets really human. And in a way, this whole storyline is just one giant exercise in like psychological torment for your characters. I mean, you're really it's a discussion of how far you're willing to push yourselves to get what you want. And some of it is very hard to watch. And I'm just interested, how do you detach from that at the end of the day? How do you leave that on set? How do you go home and not take that with you?
I think it depends on which, sorry, go ahead, Lucia. Go, go, go.
No, yeah, no, I just meant like when I need to go to those extremes, I need to leave it. Like
Yeah.
Mm.
that's how I recharge. I kind of, you know, that's just naturally what I do. I love going there. That's like what I love, why I love my work, because I get to push myself into situations and emotional states where which, you know, I'm curious about human beings and behavior. And I get to do that. But then when that's done, I really need to leave it and just go home.
Yeah, I too don't like carrying it with me. I think there are parts of this one that were more frustrating to shake off. But it doesn't serve you, and I think the thing that does serve us, or the thing that we're most curious about, like Alicia just said, is this explore giving yourselves the permission to have these explore what it feels like to have these fears, explore what it feels like if these were situations that you could be put in. I think the thing that this film allows, which I was really grateful for because of the community of actors and because of Fleur and the script, is it allowed for us to get to an edge and figure out how to push beyond it. And I don't think there's always, because of the circumstances of it being potentially, I mean, a lot of films allow you to, depending on genre and tone, but also the circumstances of the rules of this world. And the content, I just felt like we were able to push our own limits in a way that I was really grateful.
If I may, if you feel comfortable saying, you mentioned that there were more frustrating parts to shake off. What were those parts for you?
Oh, it was just for me.
Fair enough. Well, one thing I want to ask both of you, we've talked a lot about Flora in this, but one thing I'm interested in, so it's her debut film. It's your guys' first time working together. I believe for all three of you, first time working together. How does that change like the vibes and the excitement on set? Does it like give it an air of like doing something totally new for all of you?
I mean, I think that constellation is what it is most of people's films. I mean, or you know, I have had the pleasure, and you know, I just did a film now where I had like three actors that I've actually worked with before, but that's very rare. I would say that most of the time you end up with people that you maybe know. Like here, I knew, you know, I was so happy I was getting the chance to work with Elizabeth and Himesh, and I know the work very well. But it's also the joy I find of filmmaking. It's a certain like, you know, edge of arriving on a new film set, and you have all these people that you need to find a way to collaborate and work together with, and you need to find a language. And you know, yes, it's Fleur's first debut feature film, but we all had been watching a lot of the work that she's been doing, and I mean, she's done this for a lot of years and has, you know, is you know, she's very comfortable and know her own set. So I really felt like I was able to like trust her and rely on her, and in our conversations and preparations for this film. And the rest is also, it's a bit of that magic. It's nice not knowing where you're going to end up.
We have talked about how this film was a journey for both of your characters. I do want to mention one character who I think had it pretty rough also. The wonderful Minnie Driver shows up in this at the dinner scene. And I feel a little bit bad for her because she has to get fake peed on by you, Alicia. And Elizabeth, you have to backhand Minnie Driver, which I...
Fake peed?
Yeah. Excuse me?
You're right. Commitment to the craft means you would have actually peed on her. But... talk to me about this dinner scene. Every piece of it was kind of one of the most frantic pieces of the whole thing. It's where you get to kind of expand your cast a little bit. And also just having Minnie Driver in there. I just need to know everything about this moment.
She was so fun to watch and get the way she was able to tell that story. She told it so brilliantly. And God, I think we were all just completely taken by her ability to also come into a situation where you have a crew and a cast and a director and a cinematographer. We've all found how we jive together, and then to come in and take up that much space is I think pretty daunting for if I had to be put in that position. And she did it. Just she was so clear, game, and I had so much fun getting to watch her in that scene. And just I think it was it's when the job's the most fun, when you just all you have to do is just listen and be present and react to the circumstances. I mean, I didn't have to shove a bunch of crazy things in my mouth, so I probably had a different experience with that sequence, but I enjoyed it. It's nice to get to be reactive and to have lots of discoveries, and I loved getting to film that sequence.
It was just... oh, it was so... I think that was probably one of my favorite scenes in this film. Alicia, one thing I want to ask you, and this may be getting kind of deep in the nitty-gritty here. I am really, really curious, though, because we find out at the end that Virginia is not the assessor's name. You specifically choose a name to help your candidates detach. Were you given any reason, or did you go into detail for yourself on why she would have chosen Virginia? Because her real name was Grace.
No. I just kind of felt like these people have, she lives her life very much by the rule book that she's been given. And I think she's a very hard worker. So in one way, I just thought that was kind of a small detail in the big scheme of her work as a whole.
Right. It's just one of those things, man. Choosing a fake name seems hard. And so it's one of those things that I think about. And I'm like, why? Why Virginia from Grace?
Let someone else do it.
Well, Elizabeth, one thing I want to ask you, obviously this is a very kind of futuristic dystopian thing, but it's all very grounded. It's very real. I know you guys use natural environment for many of the scenes. It's not effect heavy is what I'm getting at. You obviously have experience in movies where there's effects all around you to really get the vibe across. And I'm curious for you, how does it compare being on a set where it's more real like this, but it's still in that kind of society versus something maybe Marvel heavy where it's a lot of effects all of the time?
I think what is not us not showing this world, and also, I mean, it was never the intention, and nor would we ever have the budget, but it was never the intention of how this story's told to world build in that kind of way. I think it allows people to invest in them and their circumstances very quickly. With Aryan and Mia, you can relate to it in a simple way, I think, because you're not distracted by taking leaps of faith of other things. You get to imagine it yourself. You get to imagine when they talk about the old world. You get to imagine living in a home where there's some sort of AI voice that controls everything for you, and so I think because of its limitations, it potentially could allow people to relate in a deeper way, I think. And so I think that's a big difference.